Your FBI and DEA arrest El Mencho's daughter in New York quarantine.
New York, 4 o'clock in the morning, while the city was still deep in sleep, hundreds of FBI, DEA, and HSI agents simultaneously smashed through the doors of dozens of locations from Queens to the Bronx. In just 36 minutes, they arrested more than a dozen suspects, seized cash ledgers, and a secret that sent chills across the entire United States, the Jalisco New Generation Cartel CJNG, led by the kingpin El Mencho, was no longer just smuggling drugs into America. They had built an entire underground financial empire right in the heart of New York, bribing police officers, doctors, hospital staff, and city officials. And the person orchestrating it all was a 36-year-old woman from Guadalajara whom nobody had ever noticed. Do you dare to know the truth that's being hidden beneath this city? FBI and DEA arrest El Mencho's daughter at the Fontaine Hotel in New York. Corrupt cops, massive quantities of drugs. We are going to build a wall, and we have to build the wall to stop the people, the gangs, and the drugs. The drug problem has never been more severe than it is right now. The moment New York police spotted a woman with hidden ties to El Mencho's criminal empire, the FBI and DEA moved instantly. What began as a routine street encounter rapidly escalated into a federal emergency. What unfolded next exposed a secret cartel network operating deep beneath New York and revealed a discovery that shattered the line between truth, fear, and national security. In a nationwide manhunt, FBI agents followed the trail from the remote highlands of Mexico straight into the heart of New York City. And what they uncovered was truly alarming. New York had quietly become the newest front line in America's war against the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, CJNG. At its head stands the man the DEA calls the most dangerous drug lord in the world, El Mencho, the fugitive ex-cop. This cartel mass produces fentanyl on an industrial scale and ships it across the United States from California and Chicago to the ever-expanding Northeast Corridor. His family is deeply embedded in the organization. His son, El Menchito, is serving a life sentence in the United States. His daughter, Jessica, was once arrested for money laundering before being released in 2022. Another daughter, Lisa, remains implicated in a kidnapping case in Mexico. So when rumors surfaced that one of El Mencho's daughters had appeared in New York federal agencies reacted instantly. The concern isn't just the rumor, it's what that rumor implies. The CJNG may be shifting from mere probing to genuine infiltration of U.S. territory. Early in 2025, rumors spread wildly across social media, fueled by unusual FBI activity in Queens, but officials later confirmed that none of El Mencho's daughters had been arrested. The rumor was fake. The threat is real. The agents had uncovered not one of his daughters, but the architect of a CJNG infiltration cell that had been operating inside New York. We just witnessed a serious structural collapse. The fire is spreading rapidly. All units respond. The person arrested is Maria Soledad Herrera, 36 years old, from Guadalajara. She is the coordinator of the CJNG network in New York. As federal agents interrogated her, the truth emerged like a nightmare. Maria wasn't just managing finances and low-level operatives, she was running an entire network of compromised insiders across New York, every single one of them holding a position of public trust. Her phone revealed encrypted conversations with a police sergeant, a hospital records manager, 2 city hall staffers, and most chilling of all, a fully licensed surgeon at a major Queens hospital. This doctor had been secretly receiving money from the CJNG for nearly a year. His role was to exploit his position to identify vulnerable patients, alter records, and bury missing person cases under layers of forged paperwork. The FBI later confirmed that at least 2 medical files had been manipulated to cover up patients who died under highly suspicious circumstances. The rest of the corruption network was no less horrifying. An NYPD sergeant was being paid $13,000 every month to look the other way when cartel drug shipments rolled through. A hospital records manager manipulated patient files so cartel couriers could use emergency rooms as safe havens. A city licensing employee fast-tracked paperwork for shell companies that had no employees, no customers, just bank accounts used to launder hundreds of thousands of dollars. Small shops scattered across Queens and the Bronx, bakeries, cell phone stores, corner bodegas were sending out dozens of tiny transfers that, when added together, formed a multi-million-dollar money laundering pipeline. At the very center of it all stood Maria Herrera, the one who kept the ledgers distributed, the cash guarded the secrets, and decided who stayed quiet and who didn't. For the investigators, the realization was horrifying. The CJNG had infiltrated not just New York neighborhoods, they had wormed their way into police precincts, hospitals, and government offices. And this unnoticed woman had been controlling every door they walked through. Right now, it's 4:12 in the morning on Tuesday, Queens, New York. The city is still asleep as the first wave of federal agents takes position. Thick fog clings to Roosevelt Avenue, turning the streets into an eerily silent void. Behind the tinted windows of unmarked vehicles, FBI, DEA, and HSI teams wait for the go signal. After weeks of surveillance cracking encrypted messages and taking Maria Herrera into custody, they are finally ready to strike the cartel network buried deep inside the city. 4:15 in the morning. In an instant, the silence shatters. At a small bodega used as a money laundering front, agents smash through the reinforced back door. Inside, two CJNG couriers frantically try to burn the ledgers, but a flashbang rolls across the floor before they can strike a match. Both are face down and cuffed in seconds. 4:17 in the morning. The Bronx. Another team storms the apartment of a mid-level coordinator. The suspect bolts for the fire escape only to find agents rappelling from the roof, already blocking his path. He surrendered the moment he realized there was no escape. 4:22 in the morning. Queens Medical Center. The most sensitive raid of the morning begins. Agents move through a staff-only corridor and confront the hospital records manager who had been altering files for cartel members. She freezes the instant she sees the DEA jackets, already knowing the charges waiting for her. In her desk drawer, agents find envelopes stuffed with cash and a second phone holding an encrypted contact list tied directly to CJNG safe houses. 4:29 in the morning, LaGuardia Airport perimeter. The NYPD sergeant who had been selling information to the CJNG is boxed in on his way to the morning shift. Dash cam footage shows him dropping his head the second the agents approach. He offered no resistance. His arrest confirmed the federal officials' worst fear: cartel money had reached inside a police uniform. 4:34 in the morning. Elmhurst. The biggest confrontation of the night unfolds at a two-story commercial building disguised as a non-profit office. Intelligence had identified it as the CJNG's East Coast Financial Command Center. Inside, agents encounter reinforced steel doors, hidden rooms, and a basement packed with laptops, money-counting machines, and handwritten ledgers. 3 cartel members barricade themselves on the lower level. The standoff lasts 6 minutes long by federal standards. When agents finally breach the last door, one suspect clutching a short-barreled shotgun surrenders the moment the tactical SHIELD team advances and takes him down. "4:48 in the morning. The simultaneous raids are over. More than a dozen suspects in cuffs. Couriers, accountants, civil servants, and bought officials who had let the CJNG operate right under everyone's nose. But as dawn breaks over New York, the agents realize a chilling truth. This is not the end of the CJNG's presence. This is only the first layer peeled back. As the sun rises over the city, New York has no idea what has just been uncovered in a 2-hour sweep. The public only sees news helicopters circling above Queens and the Bronx. But inside the Federal Command Center's agents are staring at mountains of evidence far more than they expected and far more dangerous than anyone imagined. The first major discovery comes from the nonprofit office basement in Elmhurst. As technicians crack the laptops, they uncover financial maps showing how the CJNG has been quietly funneling money all across New York. The files list dozens of soft locations businesses that look legitimate on paper but exist only to move cash. Restaurants with no customers, trucking companies with no trucks, even charities reporting phantom donations. Each one is a cog in the machine run by Maria Herrera. If El Mencho's daughter had actually slipped into New York undetected, what do you think would happen to this city in the next 5 years? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. Her role grew clearer with every document. She wasn't just an accountant. She was the gatekeeper, assigning routes, approving payments, and coordinating between cells. One agent compared her position to that of a regional manager for a multinational corporation. The CJNG hadn't simply come to New York, they had built infrastructure here. Meanwhile, the interrogations yielded even more disturbing details. The hospital records manager admitted she had been helping the CJNG for more than 2 years. It started with small fixes to patient files, then escalated, concealing the identities of wounded cartel couriers, issuing fake discharge papers, and providing unused hospital rooms for late-night meetings. She broke down crying when asked why she kept going. "They know where my family lives. They said one mistake and it would be the last." The NYPD sergeant told a different story. He took cash disguised as consulting fees. According to him, the CJNG never asked for anything big. At first, just small favors: look away from this car or that one, ignore a mismatched plate, delay a patrol by a few minutes. "I told myself it wasn't real corruption," he said, but the requests just kept growing. His testimony confirmed the fear federal officials rarely say out loud. Cartel influence creeps in little by little, never in one giant leap, until it becomes part of the daily routine. From the arrested couriers, agents piece together the CJNG's long-term plan. The cartel doesn't see New York as just another market. They see it as the future financial command hub where money can be laundered more efficiently than anywhere else in America. Chicago handles distribution, Los Angeles handles supply, and New York handles the cleaning of the money. With enough bought officials, enough shell companies, and enough hidden couriers, the CJNG can make millions of dollars vanish without anyone ever having to leave Mexico. The deeper the investigation goes, the more unavoidable the conclusion becomes. These arrests didn't dismantle the network, they only exposed it. There are still missing pieces, unidentified handlers. For the FBI, DEA, and HSI, the raids are a victory. But the evidence left behind paints a far darker truth. New York has been living alongside cartel infiltration far longer than anyone realized, and the war has only just begun. In the hours after the raids, New York woke up to headlines screaming about a massive federal operation. But the public only saw the tiniest sliver of the truth. Behind closed doors, federal leadership was staring down a brutal reality. The cartel infiltration uncovered in Queens was not an isolated incident. It was one piece of a much larger, much deeper problem stretching across the entire United States. The first fallout hit City Hall like a bomb. Local officials demanded answers. How could a criminal network worm its way into police desks, hospital offices, and business licensing departments? Oversight committees were formed overnight, and by the next morning, subpoenas were already flying. With some officials, the political fallout came immediately. One city council member who had once approved several permits for shell companies suddenly resigned, citing family reasons. Federal investigators later revealed he had been flagged for suspicious financial activities, though no charges were filed. On Capitol Hill, the situation ignited a broader debate. Lawmakers from both parties questioned whether current tools were sufficient to combat cartels operating like multinational corporations. In multiple hearings, national security experts testified that CJNG's strategy resembled that of a foreign intelligence agency, patient, covert, and willing to invest many years to gain influence. One senator warned if a cartel can infiltrate the agencies of New York City, it can infiltrate any city in America. The pressure triggered a chain reaction. The Department of Justice expanded its anti-cartel initiative, ordering a nationwide audit of corruption vulnerabilities in police departments, city halls, and healthcare facilities. The DEA established a new internal unit dedicated exclusively to hospital infiltration, something no one would have imagined necessary a decade earlier. And for the first time, the FBI declared that cartel penetration of public institutions would be treated as a national security threat, not merely organized crime. Meanwhile, the suspects arrested during the operation began appearing in federal court. Maria Soledad Herrera was charged with multiple counts conspiracy to launder money operating an unlicensed financial network, aiding cartel activities, and facilitating corruption. Prosecutors emphasized one key point: she was not merely an accountant, but an influence coordinator connecting criminal proceeds to compromised officials. The hospital administrator and the NYPD sergeant faced separate charges, each potentially looking at decades in federal prison. However, the most alarming development came from subsequent intelligence reports. Analysts discovered that CJNG's network in New York had been active for at least 6 years, continually adapting whenever law enforcement got close, shifting locations, personnel, and using legitimate institutions as cover. Even after the raid, some communication channels back to Guadalajara remained active, showing that high-ranking cartel figures had already begun rerouting operations. The deeper the investigation went, the clearer the message became. The raids were not the end of CJNG's presence. They were merely the first visible sign of how far the cartel had reached. For federal agencies, the New York operation marked a turning point. It forced the United States to confront a brutal truth: the cartels were no longer just smuggling drugs across the border. They were building footholds inside the American system itself, exploiting weaknesses and turning trusted institutions into silent partners. The biggest lesson from the horrifying New York story for every single one of us is this: corruption never arrives with gunfire or immediate violence. It always starts with the smallest things, looking the other way just once a cash-stuffed envelope, a favor that seems harmless. A few months later, you've become an indispensable link in a criminal machine without even realizing it. Once dirty money is seeped into police uniforms, hospital records, or business permits, no border and no wall is high enough to stop it. The only shield left is clear-headedness and the courage to say no the very first time. Remember, one small door bought today can swing the entire city wide open tomorrow. CJNG hasn't left, they're just hiding deeper, waiting for their chance. This war isn't over, it's just begun. Which city do you think will be the next one to be infiltrated by the cartel without anyone knowing? Los Angeles, Miami, Chicago? Or a city closer to you than you think? Comment below the city you suspect most along with your reasons. I'll read it all and maybe make a next video based on the most engaged comment. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next part. See you soon, and stay alert.